It's become a truly ironic world where China stands to protect free trade while the United States disrupts it. Even though the US is a member, it's causing chaos. And it's not about bashing the US, anymore, but rather bypassing it. I don't think retaliatory tariffs like China does are a good approach either, but we need to take a firm stance. In the first place, that formula is a complete mess. I wasn't good at math either, but if that formula appeared in a math test, it would definitely score 0. From both committee member Hoshino and committee member Takematsu regarding the issues of the WTO. There have been various discussions. I would like to ask about the memorandum concerning the improvement of the WTO schedule of commitments. Well, I think the Trump tariffs from the United States have become a significant challenge to the global economy and free trade. Also, China joined the WTO in the 21st century. It's become a truly ironic world where China stands to protect free trade while the United States disrupts it. However, I don't think China can become a rule maker, even though it contributes to free trade. In the material sector, there is still much to be done. It is still in a situation where it hasn't caught up with developed countries, so Japan needs to firmly fulfill its role here. What the United States is doing under the Trump administration is quite chaotic, but Minister Akazawa went there, and the negotiation counterpart, Besson, and the Secretary of the Treasury as well. They are also mentioning the reorganization of the Bretton Woods system, but since the Nixon shock, it has ended and transitioned to a floating exchange rate system. What is his aim in saying this? Well, I don't really understand if he's saying it as a keyword for challenging the current free trade and free economy. First of all, there is the reform of the WTO. And then there's that. In terms of firmly protecting free economic trade and free trade, aside from the WTO, there are bilateral trade agreements and minimal multilateral agreements. Well, the CPTPP is a large agreement, but through such means, protecting free trade is also important, in addition to the reform of the WTO itself. In terms of protecting the freedom of the global economy, I think we have no choice but to fill the gaps of the WTO by doing these things. Moreover, on the contrary, some of these bilateral and minimal multilateral trade agreements are more suited to the current era, as there are also old rules. Well, I mentioned earlier that reform of the dispute resolution mechanism is necessary. I think it's necessary to make efforts to change old rules into new ones. By doing so, in a sense, even though the US is a member, it's causing chaos. And it's not about bashing the US, anymore, but rather bypassing it. It's better to work with other countries, as it's not feasible to expect to bring the US in under Trump. Instead, Japan should take the lead and emphasize the importance of free trade. By doing so, we can enjoy the benefits together with each country. I think it might be quicker to make the US realize this. In that sense, while being aware of the issues with WTO reforms, there are also bilateral matters. I believe it is necessary to protect the free economy by promoting bilateral and multilateral trade agreements. Furthermore, although there is the issue of dispute resolution not functioning properly right now, well, I believe that filing a lawsuit is necessary as a form of expressing intent to a certain extent, or as a means of applying pressure on the other party. Regarding filing a lawsuit against the United States, while it was initially about observing the progress of negotiations, if there is no advancement in these negotiations, I believe we should not hesitate to file a lawsuit against the United States. Even though former Prime Minister Abe had firmly negotiated with Mr. Trump regarding automobile tariffs during the Abe administration. Even though we had secured commitments, they are easily being disregarded. And when it comes from the US, it's an unreasonable demand, and the logic is all over the place. There's no consistency at all. However, when Japan negotiates regarding what is being said, well, it's almost like being extorted by a delinquent. If you give in to what they're saying, claiming it's negotiation or a deal, and if Japan gives in, it sets a bad precedent. If you give money to someone extorting you, they'll just come back for more. It would be fine if we could reach an agreement that benefits Japan as well. Just getting them to ease up is not a good thing. I don't think retaliatory tariffs like China does are a good approach either, but we need to take a firm stance. In the first place, that formula is a complete mess. I wasn't good at math either, but if that formula appeared in a math test, it would definitely score 0. So even though Minister Akazawa is serious and capable, there's a concern about whether a serious person can handle it. Well, it might be problematic to say this over a meal, but I sometimes think that maybe Mr. Kono should have gone. The counterpart isn't straightforward. They won't listen to reasonable things. I mean, they mentioned all options, but it's just not straightforward. You absolutely must not give information to the counterpart. Did they ease up because of that? This will become a bad example. So I think it's that kind of battle. And, as I mentioned in this committee, the movie Apprentice, which was based on President Trump's younger days, might have already finished its run. Well, even if you don't watch that, there's a documentary about his mentor, the lawyer Roy Cohn, available on various streaming platforms. So if you watch that, you'll understand. He hasn't been straightforward, even from the past. With that in mind, we must respond firmly. When unreasonable demands are made, Japan should not concede just to have them retracted. It sets a bad precedent. We need to fight together with other countries. Japan should not act alone to seek exemptions. Do not provide unnecessary information. I would like you to assure us of that, Minister.
Chairman, as Foreign Minister Iwaya, the Prime Minister has also been asked and has responded several times. I don't think we are considering making any unilateral concessions, and I don't believe we will approach negotiations with such an attitude. Also, the Prime Minister has also stated that we are not operating under the mindset that it's fine as long as Japan benefits. Yes. Well, in the current negotiations, it's crucial that we arrive at an answer. Right. Yes, well, various things. For that, I think we need strategies and tactics. But if we can reach some kind of conclusion, a good conclusion between Japan and the U.S., then naturally it will likely have a ripple effect on others as well. First of all, I am convinced that negotiations will begin by calmly and firmly conveying to the U.S. side what needs to be communicated clearly.
Oguma Shinjuku, yes, I hope you will strive in that direction and ensure that Japan's domestic interests are not transferred to America. In that sense, I also wonder about the plan to build factories related to the automotive industry. Well, it would be better to do it if they are doing the shipping stuff. Because compared to China, America has become just a fraction. Well, on the contrary, shipping technology. Ensuring solid cooperation is also related to the security of the Pacific. Yes, I hope you will reach an agreement that is beneficial for Japan, beneficial for the political world, and beneficial for America.